My name is Dave, and I welcome you to Soul Ascension Insights. In this episode, we'll talk about UFO experiencer Sherry Wilde and her book, The Forgotten Promise. So let's get started with episode number 13, titled An Abduction Story. Sherry Wilde had traced memories of being abducted by odd-looking beings as young as age 5, and the abductions continued throughout her life. What happened during these alien abductions varied, and for a time were as frequent as twice a week. After each abduction, she was left with no memory of the event, but had to deal with the confusion of lost time, marks and bruises on her body she could not account for, and constant fear and anxiety. She married at 19 and moved 19 times from one apartment to another in the first 4 years of marriage, trying to hide. No matter what she did, she had no control over her life and actually hoped to be diagnosed with a serious mental condition, which could finally provide a logical explanation for her crazy life. Unfortunately, she suffered this way most of her life, only to find out her role in these abductions in her 40s. After menopause, the abductions decreased dramatically, but there was still contact with the Gray she knew as Da. Quote, "The interactions with the Greys had shifted a great deal from what I had experienced in the late 1980s. I was now an active participant and experienced virtually no fear. My contact with them was almost constant through the winter and spring of 2011 and 2012. This was when I came to understand that I was not a victim, but a willing participant in some sort of hybrid program. I knew without a doubt, through pre-birth planning, that I'd agreed to come into this form on planet Earth to assist the Greys. They were family. It was also at this time that they told me to write a book about my experiences to further disclosure. This was a hard decision because of my children. My oldest daughter told me to stop acting and talking so crazy, saying that I was making it impossible for her to live and work in this town, and that she would have nothing to do with me if I published a book about my experiences. After much thought, I decided to shelve the book project. But that night, Da paid me a visit, saying, "Had I forgotten the promise I made? Did I not remember the vow I'd taken?" When I pointed out the situation with my daughter, he showed me great compassion and love, but made it clear that my obligations were to the greater good rather than the few. By transcending fear, I was really able to hear what my seeming captors were teaching me, and to see that I was a willing participant in every interaction with them." End quote. At one point, Sherry asked Da if he was a Zeta, which is a Gray. He said that would not be an accurate accounting of who he is. He said, quote, "I'm a voyager of the universe, going where needed, in service to the Creator," end quote. Well, this is the third reference we've seen of an ET working for God. Now, it's definitely a pattern. He also said that many visitors to planet Earth use the Zeta or Gray body type because it is highly functional in Earth's vibration. In some of this show's introductions, I say, quote, "My goal is not to change minds, but to open them to the possible alternative aspects of our reality that I believe are much bigger and more complex than we can imagine," end quote. As an example of the complexity of our reality, I've listed 3 important things to know that Da taught Sherry throughout their encounters. Rule number 1, quote, "We are all one with every living thing and our Creator," end quote. Let me say it again. We are all one with every living thing and our Creator. So if you harm another person, you are harming yourself, because there is no difference between you and any other living thing. We are all one, all made from the same particles. And as physics has taught us, like particles are entangled. They talked about how this one simple lesson was all humanity really needed to get in order to change the world. Fear is the motivating factor. Fear that we won't have enough, that we won't be enough, that we won't be worthy enough. We have forgotten our very essence. It is our belief in separation that has kept humanity from real growth. And until we can see God in every person we meet, we are destined to remain in this fear-dominated world. Rule number 2, quote, we are all multidimensional beings existing on more than one level simultaneously, end quote. I'll say that one again. We are multidimensional beings existing on more than one level simultaneously. Let's hear an explanation from Sherry. Quote, to help me visualize this, they showed me a stack of thin, loosely stacked papers about 12 inches high, with each piece of paper representing a life in a different dimension on a different timeline. They then took a long pencil-type object that was sharpened on one end and stabbed it down through the center of the stack and every piece of paper. This is you, they said. The pencil represented my essence, soul, or life force. And this essence is present and interacts in these different levels, even though they are happening at the same time. How is this possible? Because every thought we have creates a reality. There are literally an infinite number of timelines or alternative realities where our lives are being experienced. We are moving quickly towards a time when these timelines will be easily accessed as we ascend into higher frequencies, end quote. So here is how I think about this. Say you have a good job, but got an offer for a more rewarding job with more responsibilities in a different state. You give this new job a lot of thought, trying to picture all the ramifications of a change of this magnitude. But you ultimately decide to stay in your old job. Well, all that thought, that concentrated intent, created a new alternative reality and timeline where you're living the life you would have had if you had taken the out-of-town job. This is an excellent example of the deep rabbit holes and high strangeness of the true reality of our lives on planet Earth. Rule number 3, quote, monitor your thoughts, end quote. Monitor your thoughts. They stated, quote, everything that is happening in our world is a result of our thoughts. Every thought that every person has creates an energy stream, and it brings about the life we consider to be our reality. The reason our planet is filled with pain, trauma, war, and disaster is because of our fear-based thoughts. So it is that we cannot bring about change in this world until we change our thoughts. So, we need to be aware of the voice that speaks inside our head, because those thoughts are directing your life, and that you have the power to direct your thoughts. That we should replace any negative or fearful thought with ones that are positive and loving. Your life will be whatever your thoughts are, and we should not allow thoughts of fear to dominate. You change your thought, and you change your life, end quote. Sherry was also taught about the power of visualization and that our thoughts have the power to heal our body. Quote, they told me to visualize the area where the pain was located and to see the pain. I envisioned the pain as a dark green, almost black, tar-like substance that was wrapped around my right knee. I felt it there. I felt it creating pain for me. Then I visualized it being pulled out of my body. As I did this, I could feel it come out. They told me to give this substance I had pulled out to the earth that would heal and neutralize it, end quote. Let's get one last word from Sherry and Da. Quote, the awakening that is happening on Earth right now is quickly bringing about much-needed change. As those people who have come into awareness practice acceptance of everyone and everything, they are demonstrating just how beautiful life can be when it is lived in a state of gratitude and forgiveness. The spark of light that exists in each and every soul is divine. We are simply God, experiencing himself the creator, playing in his creation. The part of us that is eternal, our soul, was created by our loving Father God. By remembering the true essence of who we are and realizing that our connection to God can never be broken is where you will find deep, unshakable peace." End quote. Before we end, let me say this about the alien abduction phenomenon. I'm happy for Sherry that after decades of fear and misery, she came to that understanding that she volunteered before incarnating on Earth to help the Greys with their hybrid program. And I've read other similar stories. But just like there are good and bad people, there are certainly good and bad aliens. I've read a number of alien abduction stories that had hostile intent and were an invasion of personal sovereignty. If you add in the thousands of cattle and animal mutilations happening in the United States, there is no doubt that negative beings are present and following an unknown agenda that serves only their interest. And since our government seems unconcerned with the property losses inflicted upon our Western ranchers, I have to wonder about the extent of our government's involvement or possible agreements with these negative entities. If you have a story you'd like me to cover along these lines, let me know through the email link below. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Soul Ascension Insights. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share your thoughts with me in the comments or through email. And as always, I'll leave a book list below for those who wish to explore this topic further. Thanks again, and I'll be back with more episodes.